Hey, how y'all doing today? Anyways, I'm doing pretty good. I hope you guys are doing good too. So, what's my story? I'm here to tell my story today. My story, here's how it goes. All right, let's see. Many years ago, long time ago, I got busted with weed, man. I had some really good high quality weed. Sensamian, we called it back in the day. It was that really green weed with the red hairs on it that were just it was just kick butt weed, man. So I smoked a lot of weed back in that time, and I got busted with this weed. So I'm busted, and the police took me to jail. They questioned me, interrogated me, where do you get it from, all that stuff. And as everybody knows, you can't tell where you got it from. So I didn't. I sat in the jail cell for like 3 days. Excuse me. A Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Now I wasn't no more high on the sense that I was smoking when they busted me, because I was smoking it because it was really good stuff. And you didn't need much of that stuff back in the day. You didn't. It was like so good. It was pure. It wasn't cut with weird drugs and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sitting in that jail cell on a Sunday night, and I'm like, God, this came right out of me. God, I know you made this world that we live in. I don't know nothing else about you, but get me out of this trouble I'm in, and I will serve you. Now, for me, I didn't even know what serving God was. I don't know where that prayer came from, but I did pray that. God, if you get me out of this trouble I'm in, I will serve you. Now, I wasn't raised in church. I did go to church as a young kid, a little bit here and there. We had neighbors to the one side of us. They went to church. They had their church. The neighbors behind us, they went to church. And we had a preacher in the neighborhood that him and his kids, we hung out with them guys. He was a preacher. We went to that church, like vacation Bible study or Bible school in the summer. We did that. Then we had people across the street as well that they were like Pentecostals, so they were cool. They were cool people too. All our neighbors were great. We got along great. We grew up together. We played kickball, basketball. We played baseball, all kinds of stuff. But these people across the street, they sent a bus to our neighborhood from their church and picked us kids up. And me and my brother, we went to what was called Hobby Club back in the day. They picked us up. They sang all kinds of songs, did all that kind of stuff. But for me, that didn't stick back in the day. I went for the chocolate chip cookies and chocolate milk and whatever else. So, and me and my brother ate a lot of those things there. But it didn't, whatever their message was, none of it stuck at any of the churches that I went to from the people in my neighborhood. So, and our neighborhood was great. It was really great growing up in my neighborhood. And we moved there when we were like 5 years old too. So we were all, in that neighborhood for years knowing each other. It was really, really a good neighborhood. I thought so. So anyways, so fast forward. So I'm busted with this weed. I'm sitting in jail. I just pray a jailhouse prayer. I go before the judge the next day. Now, this is a Monday. I work second shift, so I had to be to work at like 3 o'clock, and I'm going before the judge at noon. And I go before the judge, and the judge looks at me, Mr. Noe, and I'm looking at him, and he says, I'm going to let you go on OR. And I'm just looking at him like, what? He goes, I'm going to let you go on your own recognizance, go get your things from the bailiff. And he said, we'll see you in court in 3 weeks. Get your attorney again, because you're going to need him. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just stood there. I was shocked, really. Mr. Noe, I'm letting you go on OR. We'll see you in 3 weeks. Grab your things from the bailiff, and we'll see you then. Dismissed. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So long story short, so I'm released. I'm out on the street. I got out all the trouble I was in. I got out of it all. I did have to go to AA, and I did have to go to treatment. So I went through that kind of stuff. Okay. Long story short, I'm not going to dwell on that right now. Went to treatment, and the company I was working for, I wanted to transfer me to Arizona. And when I signed up with the company, when they first hired me, they asked me if I'd move to Arizona. I said, absolutely, I will go. A year later, bam, this is after my court case, after getting out of the trouble I was in, right about in the middle of, AA, going to AA meetings. They asked me if I was ready to move, and I said, I am ready to go. So I moved to Arizona, transferred down there, same company, and I start working with this guy. I mean, he's like 60 years old. I was in my mid-20s. And we became pretty good friends. I mean, we were working together about 6 months. I mean, and we ate lunch together. We worked on projects together. I was assigned to him. I was his draftsman, detail draftsman, layout draftsman, designer draftsman. I worked on CAD CAM when it first came out, and we were doing drawings and blueprints and all that kind of stuff. So I worked on all these projects with him, and we worked really well together. But one day this guy said, I'm calling him George, okay? I'm calling him George. And one day George says to me, he says, Mark, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, you can ask me anything you want, George. Now, George and I, we talked about everything. We talked about the parties we went to, all the bad things we did, all of the good things we did. So we really got to know each other. That's why we work so well together. And I said, yeah, George, you can ask me anything you want. He goes, if you died right now, where would you go? I said, well, George, for all the bad stuff I did, I'd probably go to hell. And he goes, well, you don't have to. And I said, what? He goes, well, you don't have to. And I said, why? Where would you go? Because he did all the same things I did. I thought, whoa, where's this guy coming from? And he said, Mark, I will go to heaven. And he had this big old smile on his face. He always had a smile, okay? This dude was happy. But he always had this smile, and he looked at me. I will go to heaven. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's so weird. He's weird. I said, I'm out of here, George. This is too weird for me. I went and talked to my boss. I said, I'm not working with George no more. I'm done. Why? What did he do, Mark? What did he do? I said nothing, because you don't rat out your friends. So even if they are weird like that. So I said, I'm not working with him. Put me on another project. So boss put me on another project, but I was bugged about that. I was bugged for like 3 weeks. I was thinking about, wow, George did all the same stuff I did. And I said, if I died, I'd go to hell. And George said, if he died, he'd go to heaven. I'm like, that bugged me for 3 weeks. I'm just like, what the heck? How does he know? Because that guy was not a liar. So he wasn't. I know his stories. So we had very comparable stories and growing up and all that kind of stuff. So I went back in his office after 3 weeks, sat down in the chair where we usually conversed. And I looked at him like not a minute had passed. I said, how do you know you're going to heaven? And he looked at me, he pulled out a Bible, and I'm like, hey, I don't need that. I don't need that. And he goes, well, let me read you one verse. I said, well, you go ahead. So he pulled out his Bible. He goes, I'm going to read you John 3:16. And he said, Mark, it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. And I said, wow, okay. He goes, do you get it? I said, nope, I don't get it one bit. He said, well, if you believe in Jesus, Mark, you will not perish, but have everlasting life. And I go, oh, I said, I kind of get it. I go, you want me to pray with you, don't you? And he looked at me, he goes, yeah, I do. And I go, what for? He goes, Mark, you said you were going to go to hell if you died. And I just said, I will go to heaven. He goes, Mark, if you believe in Jesus, you won't perish. You'll have everlasting life. And now I knew George, he wasn't a player, man. He wasn't a liar. He didn't tell stories that were not true. He was an honest dude, man. He was. And I said, all right, George, I'll pray with you. So I prayed some prayer with George, and he goes, Mark, he goes, you're a Christian now. I said, no way. Here's what I really said. No way. Christians are losers. And he looked at me and he goes, no, you just prayed a prayer of salvation. You're a Christian now. I said, no way, George. Christians are losers. There's no way I'm a Christian. He goes, how do you feel? I said, I feel the same way. I feel the same way as I did when I walked in your office. So he's like, no, Mark. He goes, you're saved now. And he goes, you're a Christian now. I said, George, I'd never become a Christian. So that's where I'm ending my story right now. It goes on and on, of course, because I got 40 years worth of stories all wrapped up in me here. And that was my introduction to Christianity, into religion. It was my introduction into my journey. It just was my introduction and my process of walking my path out and meeting a dude who, the reason I stuck with George for a while here is because George had something I didn't have. George had this light on in his eyes. He was always happy, and there was something about that dude that I really liked. So George was awesome dude. So I'm going to end my story here, and I will continue this as I go here. So I want to thank you for listening today. I want to thank you for watching. Do the likes and the follows or whatever else that we do here, okay? All right. God bless.